Have you ever heard a single sentence that could shatter a man's entire world? Imagine standing in the middle of a busy restaurant, the clinking of glasses and the chatter of voices all around you, and then suddenly, a little girl's scream cuts through the air like lightning. "Daddy, that's my brother." Everyone freezes, but none more than the man in the expensive suit, the man everyone recognizes as a millionaire, yet at that moment he isn't powerful, he isn't untouchable, he is just a father, collapsing into tears. And what led to that heartbreaking moment is a story you'll never forget. Richard Hale was the kind of man people envied. A self-made millionaire, owner of one of the biggest construction companies in the city, he had everything: luxury cars, a mansion on the hill, and the respect of his peers. Yet behind the polished smile and commanding presence, he carried a loneliness that money could never cure. His wife had passed away during childbirth, leaving him with a daughter, Lily, his one light in the world. Richard loved Lily more than life itself, but grief had hardened him. He drowned himself in work, trying to escape the memories of what he lost. To everyone else, he was untouchable, a man of steel. But to Lily, he was just daddy, sometimes too tired, sometimes too strict, but always hers. Lily was 7 years old when it happened. She had her mother's soft eyes and her father's stubborn determination. Richard often tried to shield her from the harsher parts of life, enrolling her in the best schools, surrounding her with nannies and tutors. But Lily only wanted one thing: her father's time. She would often wait by the door for him, clutching a small drawing in her hands, whispering, "Maybe today he'll come home early." But most nights, Richard came home long after she'd fallen asleep. Still, she never stopped loving him with all her heart. One evening, Richard decided to take Lily out to dinner. It was rare, so rare that Lily's face lit up like Christmas morning when he told her. She wore her favorite pink dress and slipped her tiny hand into his, chattering about her school, her favorite books, and the stray kitten she had seen near the playground. Richard listened with half a smile, feeling guilt stir inside him. He realized she was growing up fast, and he was missing it all. That night, he promised himself silently, "I will do better. I will be the father she deserves," but fate had other plans. At the restaurant, Lily suddenly froze mid-sentence. Her eyes widened, her small finger pointing across the room. "Daddy," she whispered, then louder, her voice trembling yet full of certainty, "Daddy, that's my brother." Richard blinked, confused. He turned and saw a young boy, maybe around 9, with messy dark hair and hauntingly familiar eyes, the same shade as Lily's, the same shade as his own. The boy was sitting at a table with a weary-looking woman, her clothes plain, her hands calloused as if from years of hard work. The world seemed to stop spinning. Richard's throat tightened. His legs went weak. And then, he collapsed into his chair, tears spilling down his face, because deep down, he knew. He knew the boy was his son. The memories rushed back years ago. Before his marriage, Richard had been in love with a woman named Sarah. She was kind, full of life, but when his career ambitions pulled him in another direction, they parted ways. He never knew she was pregnant. And now, sitting only a few feet away, was the son he never knew he had. Lily tugged at his sleeve, her innocent eyes full of confusion. "Daddy, why are you crying? That's my brother, right?" The words pierced him deeper than any business failure, deeper than any pain he had ever known. He had built skyscrapers, signed million-dollar deals, but he had missed out on building something priceless. His own family shaking, Richard walked over to the boy's table. Sarah looked up, shock flashing across her face. For a moment, time stood still. Richard opened his mouth, but no words came. Only tears. The boy stared at him curiously, sensing something but not fully understanding. Finally, Richard whispered, "What's your name, son?" "Ethan," the boy replied softly. The sound of his voice broke Richard completely. He knelt on the floor, right there in the middle of the restaurant, his expensive suit forgotten, his reputation forgotten. He looked at Sarah with eyes full of regret. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." Sarah's eyes glistened. She had struggled for years, raising Ethan alone, working long hours, never telling Richard because she didn't want to burden him or disrupt the life he had chosen. But now, fate had brought them face to face. That night was not easy. There were questions, anger, and a flood of emotions. Lily clung to Ethan's hand as if she had known him forever. Richard, for the first time in years, begged, not for deals, not for contracts, but for forgiveness. He promised Sarah he would be there, that he would make things right, not with money, but with presence, with love, with time. It was not a smooth road. Richard had to learn humility. He had to earn Ethan's trust, to prove he wasn't just a man with wealth, but a father willing to show up for the small things, school plays, late-night homework struggles, even just sitting at the dinner table together. Slowly, painfully, he began to rebuild what he had lost. Months later, Lily stood between Richard and Ethan, holding both their hands. She looked up at her father with a smile that could melt the coldest heart. "See, Daddy? I told you he was my brother." And for the first time in a long, long while, Richard felt whole. The story of Richard Hale spread quietly, whispered among those who once only saw him as a man of power. They began to see him as something greater, not because of his wealth, but because of his courage to change, to love, to start over. And so, if you take anything from this story, let it be this: success is not measured by the size of your bank account or the height of your buildings, but by the strength of your family and the love you give. Because in the end, it wasn't millions that saved Richard, it was the small voice of a little girl who reminded him of what truly matters: family.